In the world of big business, there's an idea known as golden handcuffs. Companies will give their high-value employees lavish incentives to make sure they don't leave. Stock options, equity, bonuses, all ways to chain talent to one specific corporation. But what if instead of working at any high-value company, your job was making TikToks? And instead of vacations to Bermuda and a new Benz, the thing making you stay was millions of people watching you destroy your life on a daily basis.
This person likes to wear diapers and soil them.
Trying Wingstop for the first time. These are actually pretty decent.
But this TikToker is hiding a dark secret.
And the relaunch of the Discord server is coming soon.
It's 18+.
The server got nuked! No!
NovaOnline is a man who has been repeatedly exposed for his inappropriate interactions with underage individuals, and yet continues to document every step of his life online. From his hoarding, to his wall where he smears bodily fluids, his food reviews, and his most recent dive into creating adult content, he's a busy guy.
I'm never making another Discord server again.
He did in fact keep using Discord, and it went about as well as you can imagine. A total disaster. It's clear that at this point, Gabriel yearns for the attention no matter what form it comes in, chains from which he will never free himself. We've got a lot to talk about.
No!
So I know nothing's been bad.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to let you know I have gotten tons of comments and DMs asking about the yearly weigh-in video.
Now you guys need to stop being...
Finally, I can post real videos to my new LG style phone.
Nova began his content creation journey on YouTube, posting Let's Plays of games like Minecraft, Brawlhalla, and Fortnite.
What's up guys, Magic Wizard with the 5th video I have recorded so far today.
As dedicated as he was, this channel was lost in the sea of other Let's Players trying to do the same thing. So he switched platforms from YouTube to TikTok, and swapped his format from video games to fast food.
Trying Wingstop for the first time. Cajun seasoned fries. Okay. Mildly spicy, but nothing that I can't bear. These are actually pretty decent. 8 out of 10.
This video got millions of views, changing Nova's life forever. An ironic fan base formed around him, eager to see what he would review next.
Trying Ultra Sunrise Monster Energy, and if you're wondering why I'm not at home, I'm at my church for Bible camp.
Unfortunately for him, within a matter of just a few months, he was exposed for having an interest in diapers.
Wait. Hey. Wait.
This is obviously pretty strange, but in and of itself, it's not technically a crime. What might be is him sharing these strange interests with who he believed to be a 14-year-old girl.
Twinkle with that, how I wonder why you are up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky.
Following this incident, he was subject to being incessantly exposed for his strange behavior, and chronically bothered by trolls, to the point where his life became a bizarro version of The Truman Show.
I don't know if you can tell, but I've lost my motivation to shower and
I find comfort in
Eating.
His house is essentially a hoarder's nightmare. He documented himself attempting to clean it, before promptly giving up when he realized it would take at least a little bit of effort.
Y'all know me as the food review guy, the karaoke guy, the guy that tried to do a house cleaning saga but kind of failed on that and is now cleaning his room at his own pace.
He also continued doing fast food reviews, only to reveal the effects of a pure slop diet on his bowel movements.
Hey y'all, so I think I'm gonna stop going to the Wendy's that I normally go to.
After a series of failed Discord servers, he attempted to create a new one in May of 2025, trying to bring his fan base together at long last. This server featured several channels containing not safe for work content, but Nova and his mod team failed to have a proper age verification system in place, reportedly allowing minors to be exposed to some bad stuff.
The server rules clearly state you have to be above 18, but you gave a child moderator for singing in voice chat.
What the fuck? He also used this server to beg his fans for money, despite spending hundreds of dollars a month on useless trinkets and expensive DoorDash orders. And of course, he made sure to share with everyone that his diaper was, in fact, full once again.
Oh my god.
Within a few hours, the entire server was hacked. Nova was on live stream when it initially went down, having a total meltdown over the loss of his Discord kitten community.
The server got nuked! The server! No!
Bruh.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
And there goes the server.
Seriously?
But then, something strange happened. While this meltdown seemed pretty sincere, given it was the actual moment that he found out about the server being destroyed, he then made a TikTok about it.
I'm never making another Discord server again. This is the mother fourth.
To be clear, it's not weird that he made a TikTok. That is what he does. What is weird is that to me, this seems like acting. We know his real meltdown happened on the stream, but for it to happen again and to be so perfectly timed, he knew what he was doing. These meltdowns get him clicks online where people comment to make fun of him, boosting it in the algorithm. And to his credit, it worked. The video got 15 million views, and once again made him the subject of commentary channels that hate him. Nova had officially achieved self-awareness of his status as an internet punching bag, even playing into it as his only means of any online relevance. This is where I last left off with him, trying to recapture whatever semblance of relevance he once had by recreating his hits.
Can I get a French onion soup, please? I think it's time to recreate one of my most viral moments. Can I get a French onion soup, please?
So what's happened since then? Well, to say the least, his past has once again come back to haunt him. First, one of his former classmates named Casey came forward to share her experience with Nova dating all the way back to middle school. Over a 4-minute video on TikTok, she explains that he was a choir kid, but he wasn't accepted into the school's choir, so he made his own. What that apparently meant in practice was that he invited a bunch of girls over and told them that one of the requirements for his choir was for them to be comfortable with using exercise machines for music videos. I genuinely can't think of any reasonable explanation for this requirement, so I think we have to assume that Nova's gooning goes all the way back to then. The girl in the video eventually found herself in the situation of having to perform a couple of songs alongside Nova, but she decided she would rather not show up at all, which made him very upset, at least according to her. Later on, Casey claims that Nova asked multiple girls to go up to the front of the class, and once they did what he asked, he performed Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding while giving the girls a Magic Mike style lap dance. Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Quirked up white boys are no longer allowed to bust it down sexual style. Any hitting of the yoinky Spoinky will be met with severe unforeseen consequences. That song is still fire though, you can't even deny it. Of course, when she noticed the direction things were heading, the teacher stepped in and intervened, preventing Nova from permanently traumatizing a group of middle school girls. Besides this incident, Casey claims that pretty much every single girl that went to school with him was equally uncomfortable around him due to how touchy he was. And she closes the video off by sharing a video of one of their choir performances. As you can see here, Nova is the one in the red shirt, and his unique physique is pretty recognizable despite him being much younger. Now, as much as I'm sure everyone is tempted to believe every aspect of this story, there are a few things to note. Firstly, this story supposedly takes place in middle school, so I wouldn't take it too seriously, to be honest. And secondly, we don't know how truthful Casey is being. I'm not accusing her of lying, I'm just saying, remember to take everything that isn't confirmed in these stories with a big grain of salt. Besides this former classmate of his, there was also a former friend of Nova's who was in contact with him since mid-2023, who was interviewed by two of Nova's main detractors named Solidus Nova and Bloodspeth. In this interview, she describes reaching out to him out of pity. She saw how much hate he was getting on TikTok and was hoping that by striking up a friendship, she could ease his sorrows. But over time, she came to the realization that he wasn't just hated for being cringy, but instead for allegations of predatory behavior. Over several screenshots of their Discord conversations, Nova can be seen talking about his general downtrodden state of mind. What's up? My brother is mad at me. Why? I just need time for myself. It isn't your fault, it's mine for being a loser. In another one of these conversations, Nova answers a simple, hey, it's been a long time, with, I'm depressed as hell right now. When asked about what was wrong, he says everything, before stating he has been prescribed antidepressants and has had multiple self-deletion attempts. His reasoning for these feelings is that he's been, quote, backstabbed, mistreated, and played with. Now, if he's truly having these very dark feelings in a very serious manner, then that isn't something to be played with. With that being said, based on the messages, the majority of his problems relate to his time spent online. A practical solution for someone like him would be to stop making videos and get a job. Both things that he is technically capable of doing. But as this video will make clear, his online infamy is somewhat of an addiction for him, and he thinks that the next hit is always just around the corner. From how often he brings it up in conversations, it seems like he's using the suggestion he will take himself out as a way to garner sympathy, down to the way he trails off every sentence with a ... like he's typing out a fan fiction on Wattpad. I don't want to make light of serious mental health issues here, but the last message he sends after talking about this is, "Not even the Trevor Project wants to talk to me." If you're unaware, the Trevor Project is the mental health hotline for LGBTQ people. As far as I know, he's not really LGBTQ, so I have no idea why he mentioned this hotline in specific. I don't even know if you can be banned or have your phone number blacklisted by the Trevor Project, but if that is true, you gotta wonder what he did to warrant that treatment. According to this former friend of his, he only ever initiated a conversation to engage in more self-pity and complain about his life, and had basically no personality besides that and his online persona. He never ever showed signs of taking steps to improve his life. What makes all of this worse is that Nova was explaining all of this to a girl who was still technically underage when they were talking. She claims that shortly after discovering him on Twitch playing Fortnite, she was invited into a call with him and one of his friends during his stream. But as enough time passed, he eventually turned his stream off, basically making it a private call between him and this minor. Nova's friend eventually took issue with this, and this is how she recalls it going.
He invited his friend, right? He invited his friend, and then halfway through he stopped streaming. It was me, him, and his friend, and then his friend goes, "You sound kind of young. Nova, how old is she?" And he goes, "I don't know." And he goes, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 15." And he goes, "Whoa, Nova, she's 15." And he goes, "Damn it." He screams, "Damn it," right?
Unsurprisingly, he had somewhat spurious motivations from the get-go. Although he never said anything outright sexual that we know of to this girl, he did convince her to tolerate him pretending to be a baby on voice chats, and even sent a few videos of himself in baby mode and hugging some plushie, as well as showcasing his iced out binky. Although their conversations never went beyond talking about hugging, I'd say that this could have escalated to something much worse given Nova's reputation. To me, this reads as Nova wanting to talk to someone under the guises of having mental health issues, only to then turn the conversation towards his strange interest shortly thereafter. His real motivation in all of this. If he was allowed to talk to people all day about diapers and whatever else, I really doubt we would hear about his depression very often. But despite these people being somewhat decent sources on how Nova truly is when the TikToks aren't being recorded, these are girls, and Nova is known for behaving quite differently towards girls than he does with men. We also have testimony from a former coworker of his who, despite having a pretty superficial relationship with him, managed to offer up some interesting nuggets of info. For example, this person claims that contrary to Nova's constant pity party about how no place wants to hire him, at least in the case of the establishment they both used to work at, Nova wasn't actually fired, but instead he voluntarily resigned. Nova supposedly quit his job because, in his own words, he was making enough money from selling cameos and he lived with his mom anyway, so he wasn't in need of money. Not only is Cameo gonna come up again later, but it's actually come up before as a major issue for Nova. Cameo is one of the easiest ways to capitalize on having online clout. Basically, it's a website where you pay a few dollars for a celebrity to record a short video message for you.
Wandale Dingle.
It sounds pretty easy, but Nova also managed to screw this up. When a TikToker ordered his services, Nova recorded a shoutout video where he doesn't once name the person he's shouting out. This obviously renders the Cameo completely pointless, as he could send that same exact video to literally anybody. When he deservedly got a 1-star rating, he contacted the TikToker on Discord, begging her to change her rating and even offering to record another video. Unfortunately, he never recorded that other video. It just goes to show how lazy and incompetent this guy truly is. With this much of a non-existent work ethic, there is no chance he could ever stop working and just do cameos. Another thing Nova's coworker says is that his roommate claims to have witnessed Nova wearing diapers. Only now have I really considered the logistics of Nova, a wet diaper enthusiast, working at fast food establishments. How would you feel if a greasy-haired, unbathed, bed-bug-ridden, wet diaper-wearing NovaOnline served you your food? Or even worse, what if he was the one cooking it? He's practically a walking OSHA violation. I actually don't know how he gets hired in the first place. Unfortunately, the coworker didn't have much to offer besides that, as they didn't spend much time together. But that to me is also notable, because when girls give testimony of their experiences with Nova, they always report him trying to get as close to them as possible. But when it's just a dude, it's like he makes no effort whatsoever to try and establish any kind of relationship. While the information these two brought forward is pretty interesting, it totally pales in comparison to other developments that took place after my last video about Nova, also relating to his past. Although it hasn't been something I focused on, one of the most notable incidents during Nova's online presence is the Uncle Drew meltdown. For context, in March 2023, during one of Nova's gaming streams, this randomly took place.
God damn it! Motherfucker! I threw one of these days! I threw my uncle, and I'm not gonna put up with any more of this! I'm done! No, I'm not fucking okay!
To the people watching at the time, it was really hard to make out what Nova was even trying to convey, and when he came back, he stayed mostly quiet and turned his face cam off, until he half-heartedly explained what caused the meltdown.
If you've seen the Discord, you'll know what happened with me and my uncle again. We got into another argument. It was for a bullshit reason too. I forgot plans that we had made for Friday and I had scheduled something else. And then he got angry at me because I forgot.
With online trolls, no matter how aggressive and disruptive they could be, Nova for the most part would just respond by becoming despondent and feigning depression. Uncle Drew, on the other hand, was the one person that made him completely drop the act and go nuts.
And I'm not gonna put up with any more of this! I'm done! I'm done!
It's the unk factor that no one takes into account.
It rhymes with Uncle. Fuck off.
Eventually, Bloodspeth managed to contact him and get some information directly from Uncle Drew. Nova was sheltered, only child, growing up afraid of everything. The relationship between us was good. I'm the only one to spend time with him, learning how to fish, work on cars. Grandma got him gardening. His mother and father got him into the computer as a way to babysit him so they didn't have to. If you take away his internet access, he has classic withdrawal fits. Screaming, just going off like any spoiled single kid. He's awkward, shy, and afraid of his own shadow. It's TikTok that told him who he can be and that he can do what he wants. There is no right and wrong to him, only what TikTok says, his own words. While these are interesting and definitely shine some light on the true character of Nova, according to Drew, Nova lied about what they had argued about. When he was asked about when their argument started, Uncle Drew replied saying he found out Nova had been lying to him about 2.5 years prior, but he was unwilling to say what Nova was actually lying about. There was no argument. There was him crossing a line. I put him on the spot over it, and it eventually led to me turning my back on him. It was him going on TikTok, saying false things, and acting like a pervert. That was the final straw. He needs to be under a doctor's care because he has issues, obviously, and if he's being a perv online, how long before he eventually acts on it? He's already been kicked out of the church and cost my sister her position because of his sexually inappropriate questions and his TikTok videos. Honestly, if I ever caught anyone harming a child, I would be hard-pressed to not put a bullet in someone for such crimes. I've made it clear to his TikTok friends threatening me that I'm always armed, and Nova knows this. Bloodspeth then asked Uncle Drew if Nova's TikTok followers had been harassing him, and Drew confirmed, adding that they had also been targeting his sisters, meaning Nova's mom and his aunts. The interview then comes to a halt as Drew says he's in the hospital and is on medication and would rather not say anything else. It seems he was the only person in real life who was truly alarmed by the absolute degeneracy Nova was getting up to, and that's probably why Nova hated him so much. He was the one man unwilling to enable or tolerate his disgusting lifestyle, unlike the people who had joined Nova's Discord servers. A few months later, Uncle Drew was sent the pictures which had leaked of Nova wearing a onesie and sucking on a pacifier. In response, he asks whoever sent him this stuff to report it to the local sheriff. I'm 18 months in the hospital, so he knows I can't come slap the crap out of him, so please call an officer. Most of this I had no knowledge of, and if my brother were alive, he would have been on top of it and made his life miserable. His mom is a I don't see it so it doesn't happen type. My respect for her is less than zero.
Tell you one thing, and I'm not ashamed to say it. My estimation of NovaOnline as a man just fucking plummeted.
She's not answering my calls or messages, so again, she don't see it. A useless parent. She also lives on the internet, so good luck. Personally, I'd give him a good old-fashioned trip out behind the garage and bust his ass until he never wanted to see a computer or iPhone ever. We tried, but Nova has irresponsible parents undoing everything positive by not backing us up. And now there's nothing I can do to prevent it. I'm the only person that he had a healthy respect for. He learned the hard way when he said I wouldn't do anything right before he hit the floor, and I offered him the ability to get up and challenge me again. If I had my leg and the injuries healed up, I'd show up, let myself in, and pop him in his head and wait for law enforcement, and we would pull up his stuff and view it together and let them do what they can. Now, despite Nova's behavior, I do want to say that a personal uncle vigilante moment is not something that I endorse or support in any way. I do not think that any physical violence is a good idea in any form whatsoever. If any action should be taken by anyone, it's law enforcement in these scenarios. I doubt that's going to happen either way, but no one should be busting anyone's lips open over this stuff. Regardless, Drew does allege several things here. Nova's father had passed away, and his mom is his primary enabler, actively ignoring and pushing away anyone who will question her son's activities. Sadly, just 1 month after these messages were sent, Uncle Drew passed away, presumably due to whatever caused him to be in the hospital for 18 months. It's worth noting that in his obituary, it said that he spent his life working in special needs care. To me, this is interesting because when it comes to discussing widely hated internet figures, sometimes people will bring up that they're disabled in some way as if to justify the bad things they've done, or at least excuse them from suffering the consequences of their actions. If I am to believe this obituary, Uncle Drew spent his life working with people who were actually disabled. So at least in theory, he knew the difference between someone who is genuinely special needs and someone like Nova, who takes advantage of everyone's tolerance to do whatever he pleases. Ultimately, all I can say to Uncle Drew is rest in peace. If his account is true and righteous, then if it weren't for him and Nova's dad when he was still alive, who knows how bad things could have gotten before anyone else intervened. Especially given the fact that Nova could have avoided his entire downfall by simply purchasing one of my hats. This beanie is available only at turkeytom.shop. It's useful for any event, okay? You can wear it with the suit, you can wear it to the mall, you can wear it on a live stream, you can wear it to a crime scene. And this is not some lowbrow, cringy YouTuber clothing, okay? This is actually high quality stuff. It's good, it's epic. Everyone loves it. As you can see, the design here has a monkey on it because I like monkeys. And by purchasing this clothing, you are directly supporting the channel and all of its endeavors, and it means that you personally endorse every single thing I have said, am saying now, or will say in the future. But if there's one person's actions you wouldn't want to personally endorse, it's NovaOnline. It's hard to tell when exactly Gabe's unique urges began to show in real life, but we can actually figure out when they began manifesting online. KF user Osama bin Laden, I assume not the real one, but you never really know these days, managed to find Nova's old Quora account under the name Nick Nyadine. We know that this alias is him because it also shows up in the descriptions of a YouTube channel with a lot of videos that clearly show a much younger Nova, as well as a Twitter account that's tied to him.
And I would just like to say thank you. Again. I've gotten over 100 views on my epic and epic card trick shots.
It's pretty shocking to see Nova before the greasy hair and the Discord mod physiognomy overtook him. It's even more shocking to see that 10 years ago, he was already making the same exact kind of content he still makes today, recording himself on an iPhone opening Pokemon cards. To this day, he still opens random trinkets, toys, water bottles, whatever his fascination of the week is, he opens them on TikTok. Also, another side note, his introduction here is clearly him imitating Jacksepticeye, who Nova was probably watching a lot at that time.
Hello everyone, ladies, my name is Nick99, and finally I can post real videos to my new LG style phone. So today I have an amazing video for you today. Merry Christmas to all. So I'm going to be showing you Pokemon figures I got for Christmas.
This is also reflected in his early YouTube content. Based on this, it seems his original intent was to make an honest-to-God gaming channel and have that succeed.
What's going on, YouTube? It is the phenomenal 9912334 coming back at you with an update video today. And first of all, I would just like to say my channel is ultimately dead. but that might all change.
You can criticize Let's Players all you want, but those guys do have to work to make their channels succeed, especially people like Jacksepticeye or Markiplier, who have managed to maintain audiences over the course of the last decade and a half. Nova, meanwhile, gave up on trying before he even had a half-decent microphone. He grew impatient with his lack of success, and ultimately, when he finally blew up, for less than stellar reasons, he let the entire thing consume him, rather than trying to make something people actually cared about unironically.
Today, we're gonna break down and finally do it. Guys, we are finishing our 100 fishing challenge.
It's really weird for me to see these old videos of Nova as someone who's made a few videos about him already, because you can clearly see that in another timeline, he could have grown up to be a normal person, but something went terribly wrong along the line, and now we're stuck in the bad ending. Based on Osama's findings, the final crack that sent Nova barreling down the black hole he currently finds himself in took place in 2021, as that's when he began following the teens in diapers topic on Quora. Right around the same time, on Nova's Instagram, he was saying that he had been having mental breakdowns, describing them as pounding headaches. Hold on, you're telling me that Nova is suffering from sudden physical symptoms caused by his mental problems, he has mommy issues, and he's overweight and greasy? This is ringing a bell.
It's good to be in something from the ground floor.
One of Nova's posts on Quora was a reply to a thread someone else made. This person was asking if they should be worried that their 17-year-old daughter is age regressing, to which Nova said this: "You should not be worried at all. She might be dealing with mental issues like I have recently. I'm also 17, and your daughter might be a part of the age-re community, which is a community of teens and younger adults who regress voluntarily or involuntarily. There are different stages of regression: infant, toddler, and kid. It seems like your daughter is at stage 1 regression, which is the kid stage. Don't be ashamed if she goes into the toddler stage either. They use sippy cups and pacifiers. I use them as well if I age regress as well." So at 17 years old, he was already using pacifiers and sippy cups. Parents are usually worried about catching their kids doing drugs or drinking, but imagine if you check your son's bedroom one day and you find binkies and diapers. All of the stuff Nova eventually got in trouble for doing were things that had been brewing for years up until they blew over. And as his former Discord friend showed, even after being exposed, he continued looking for minors to get in contact with. As commentary channels ramped up their attacks on him as a consequence of new information coming out, Nova began watermarking all of his videos, not just visually, but also in audio form.
And I think I'm gonna go with the Pepsi Wild Cherry Zero Sugar.
Exclusive property.
So let's go ahead and pour about half of this water bottle into the soda stream.
This was just one of several defensive strategies Nova concocted to prevent people from making fun of him. For example, if you go check his TikTok, you can notice that he records a lot of his videos in an indistinct location outside of his house, or he uses a green screen filter to cut out the background. If you're wondering why this is, it's because of the Hoard.
But Turkey Tom, what is the Hoard?
You see, the Hoard is an eldritch being distributed between Nova's bedroom, living room, and kitchen. It's rarely seen due to the fact that Nova is self-aware enough to know that people will point it out, but not self-aware enough to actually do something like clean it up. Its body is composed of a wide variety of empty frozen pizza boxes, cereal boxes, food packages, trash, actual uneaten food, and it will continue to slowly increase in size until it consumes us all.
You think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
Specialists speculate that the Hoard exhibits similar powers to the fungus from Resident Evil, as it can take over people's minds and make them incapable of self-reflection, so they never develop the capability of cleaning the Hoard up. Case in point, Nova, its first victim. After being repeatedly made fun of for living in a hellish hoarder pigsty, instead of doing something about it, he made a video deflecting, saying that his bedroom is actually neat compared to the rest of the house, which he claims is way worse and is full of roaches and maggots. This is one of the funniest things ever said on video.
You think my bedroom is gross? You should see the rest of my house.
To me, this really seems like an attempt to pass the buck to his mom, as if she is the one responsible for the house being a complete hellhole and not him. While it's difficult to track the progress of the hoard and the general filth it extrudes all over Nova's living space due to how careful he is when he records videos, symptoms of it do occasionally appear in the background whenever he slips up. For example, one of the most notable instances of Nova exposing his grimy living room situation is the poop wall, also known as the blood wall. In videos he recorded while lying down on his bed, you can see that the wall behind him has these dark brownish stains. While there are many possible origins, scientists in the comment section speculated that these streaks are the result of Nova picking his skin or maybe scratching small wounds until he bleeds and then running his fingers on the wall. Alternatively, people also theorize that those stains come from him killing small bugs due to his house being infested, obviously due to the hoard. Others have guessed that it's from his butt. They guess that it's Dookie, okay? That's what they're guessing. Honestly, it could be some combination of all three, but whatever the case may be, there's really no downplaying how extremely nasty this space is. Usually we only see Nova from the chest up, or he's outside. But when you see him in a full body shot inside his bedroom, it's frightening to see how he looks so small, as he is being completely engulfed in the ancient evil living in his home. Seriously, Nova puts Asmongold to shame. It's almost impressive how he can even live in these conditions and go unbothered by it. To be fair, besides Uncle Drew, Nova has proved himself to be pretty unbothered by pretty much everything. Although he likes to play up how depressed he is to garner sympathy, everything people say about him at this point clearly rolls off his back. Even when people actually cross the line in a serious way, like showing up to his house in real life to insult him, he just yells back at them.
Read the sign! No trespassing!
You gotta envy how low cortisol this guy is, even in the face of adversity. Literally nothing can spike his levels, not even people showing up to his house in real life unprompted. I think he realized that him being harassed IRL attracted people's attention, so at a different time he tried to act as if there were trespassers on his property, even though no one was there.
If anyone's on my property, get the f off of it!
Gabriel, stop yelling at that, especially like that. You don't yell like that out the door at this time of night. What about our neighbors?
I have a strict no trespassing policy, you know that.
Ultimately, the only thing he truly cares about is bringing attention to the slop he puts out on TikTok. Which brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about, his content, if we can even call it that. It's mostly remained the same since he was a preteen. From his karaoke videos,
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say who murdered three.
To taste testing disgusting looking fast food that he can't be bothered to properly edit, so every other take ends with him reaching his finger to the pause recording button on his phone. Because he's incapable of conceiving of content besides the things he's already been doing for years, he can only introduce variations within his area of expertise. For example, instead of reviewing fast food, he's recently taken to reviewing grocery store snacks and even water.
Waikio water versus Voss. Two very expensive waters going head to head.
The interesting thing about this is that despite each individual item he buys being relatively inexpensive, he was actually spending a decent amount of money on all of these items. KF user Typhlosion Tuesdays managed to tally up everything he showcased in his videos for the majority of January 2026, which added up to $428. It's not a totally insane amount of money per se, but it is quite a bit to spend on takeout and snacks, especially given that Nova is unemployed and constantly complaining about his money problems. As for how he actually pays for all of this crap, it's probably some combination of the money he gets from TikTok gifts, the occasional cameos that I assume at least some people are crazy enough to pay for, and most likely his mom's money or food stamps. Of course, due to how much he clearly mooches off of his mom and does nothing productive for society, her, or himself all day, this is one of the go-to critiques of the people who hate watch him, that he should, improve his life and maybe get a job.
What's up, guys? It's me, Chills, and welcome to the top 11 ways to scare Nova online. Number 11.
And I'm not gonna put up with any more of this!
From late October to early November 2025, he did briefly have a job at Popeyes, but within 2 days, he had already lost it and claimed that it wasn't his fault. During a stream he did soon after the firing, he gave up some information and context on what happened.
I mentioned that I didn't want to work with minors, and they didn't like that, so they fired me. It's not f***ing funny. Every ounce of dignity I've had since Friday has now been lost. And maybe we've been left with less than what I had before. Fuck off, I'm not clip farming. If you don't want me to get angrier, stop. And you guys don't want to see me angry. I was so excited to finally start working again, and then they came around and spoiled it.
Obviously, people suspected that he wasn't telling the full story here, and eventually he was rage-baited into giving up more information on what really happened. It all started when one guy in the chat said, "This guy worked at Popeyes and my sister got him fired," to which Nova responded by saying this.
Oh, it's your sister, huh? Tell her I said piss off. I knew it was one of my trolls that got me fired. Your sister is going to get what she deserves. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna let karma do his work. Knew it! Galaxies aren't gonna fix my mental scars. Thanks for the gifts, I appreciate it, but it won't make me feel better. Someone spread terrible rumors about me and got me fired within 48 hours.
It's not really surprising to anyone that he would blame his trolls for how bad he managed to make his own reputation. You can't be this much of a degenerate for this many years without word going around and locals finding out what kind of person you are. So I don't think he'll be holding a job anytime soon. But despite that, I'm sure Nova was perfectly happy to have an excuse to continue being unemployed so that he can spend all day live streaming on TikTok. After he lost his job, he briefly teased, or should I say, threatened, to do something very radical to make some money.
Already applied there, already applied there, already applied there, already applied at the gas station, they didn't want me. I'm tempted to start an OF. I'm desperate.
The fact that he even brought this idea up means he probably already intended to do it, which is not that surprising considering that in the past he sent some interesting pieces of media to his old Discord server. Even Thwoinky embargo has officially been terminated effective immediately. All of this is besides the fact that he's also on record admitting that he's bought some intercourse-related paraphernalia.
What is the craziest, most out there purchase you've ever made online? And anything, literally anything you can buy online. That's the craziest thing you ever bought.
Considering I dabbled in chastity a little bit, probably a couple cages.
And that's that thing you put around your wiener, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
If anything, I'm sad to say that Nova was probably looking forward to putting himself out there like that, so to speak, which is a pretty grim prospect. Fortunately, for the time being, humanity was spared from this atom bomb going off. For the 5 months or so after my last video, Nova continued to publicly decay, although he seems to have become more comfortable going out in public. In June, he went to a pride parade and was pictured with a bunch of people there. A few months later, he was spotted Bigfoot style, lumbering around in a post-apocalyptic environment, which I can only assume is the natural consequence of the world being terraformed by Nova. Then, suddenly, in late October, right around the time he got and subsequently lost his job at Popeyes, this incident happened. Now, to the untrained eye, this may seem like Nova just farted on stream without even trying to cover it up. This is where you and I differ. I believe that this specific pocket of gas was lodged into some deep crevice of his brain that prevented him from being self-aware. Because in the same live stream this took place, Nova gained 15 IQ points and made some interesting unforeseen discoveries, sharing his findings as he went.
I have more estrogen than the average male.
Shortly after this alleged fart, Nova made this post.
I'm gonna be 100% real with y'all. My hygiene's a total problem. Sorry if I look a little off, I just got kind of done with crying because I know how big of a problem this is. Starting today, I'm doing daily shower videos. Obviously I'm not gonna film myself while I have no clothes on in the shower. That is obviously against TikTok's TOS. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update update you on how I'm doing on my showers, and this is the start of a new me. I will actually stick to this time.
It may be the case that my bar is so horribly low from covering lolcows who have bed bugs eating into their brain or walk around for months with a used fleshlight in their backpack, but to me, this sounds like a major character development for Nova. After months of his continued downward spiral, an ember of hope glimmered in the black void of the Novine universe. For the first time in what? Years, he's actually owning up to his absolute incompetence at something basic like hygiene. It is a bit silly that he's only capable of improving his life by constantly recording himself doing each step of it, but hey, improvement is improvement. I'll take it. Over the next couple of months, he actually stuck to it and was frequently showering, even if he occasionally failed to keep up his routine and missed a few days.
I don't know if you can tell, but I've lost my motivation to shower, and I find comfort in eating. That's why I'm so fat.
Listen, at least he was still trying, and he retained some of his self-awareness during his failure. He eventually toned down the live documentation of himself in the shower due to his mom asking him to stop, and right around the same time, something else creeped up. Although it wasn't noticeable for the longest time, in December of 2025, Nova made a post announcing that after having started the year at a whopping 280 pounds, he was ending it at 220. A 60-pound weight loss over the course of a year is nothing to scoff at, and it's pretty reasonable and realistic for someone of Nova's size. However, people began doubting that this loss was achieved naturally, since it didn't look like Nova had become particularly careful with what he ate during any part of that year. The videos of him eating slop barreled on like nothing had ever happened. So naturally, people concluded in one assumption: Ozempic. Nova tried to dispel these claims by showing himself getting weighed in at his doctor's office, but this is him acting as if people were just accusing him of pulling a Wings of Redemption and straight up lying about how much he weighed, when that really wasn't the focus of the skepticism. It was that he was using a weight loss drug. Additionally, him being at his doctor's actually reinforces the idea that maybe he did have a health issue, and as a result, he was prescribed something that was helping him shed that weight, all while he still ate goy slop. But ultimately, he was still losing the weight, and fortunately for people who followed to laugh at him, he continued to be as cringeworthy as ever. In the rare cases that these internet punching bags actually do show some sign of improvement, they typically do so while stepping away from the limelight. But in this case, it looks like the best of both worlds. Nova was handling his life better overall, and he was still making content, which is his favorite thing to do. Could this story actually have a good ending? Of course not. It was far too good to be true. In late February of 2026, Twitter user Kells_143 made a thread exposing that Nova was tied to yet another Discord server. Given his reputation with these, there was just no way that this was good news. According to Kells, one of the mods, Defender, was accused by an acquaintance of his of extorting minors into self-harm. Another person, Lucky, is said to be the co-owner of the server, and in a screenshot, he's saying, "When I go to heaven, I'll be greeted by 70 show Yodas." If you're mentally well enough to not know what that is, it's basically referring to little boys. If that weren't enough, YouTuber Bloodspeth claimed that the server's rules allowed for no maps to post there. No maps being non-offending minor attracted persons. So essentially predators who haven't acted on their desires yet. Perhaps most concerning of all of this is that besides the aforementioned mods, one of the most prominent members of the server is named Alice, described as a chronically online 17-year-old fangirl of Nova's who can be seen saying all sorts of vile and disgusting things in the server, like having Nova change her pad. Additionally, she could be seen in a private voice chat with him called Alice's Pink Bedroom, and could be seen saying that she rocked him to sleep. In another set of messages, she can be seen saying that she needs money so she can go see Nova in real life. While all of these people seem to be pretty unwell in their own right, the biggest takeaway is that it's a sideshow of freaks who want to barnacle onto Nova because that's the only way they'll get talked about online. Don't get me wrong, I'm not defending NovaOnline, but it's important to note that all of these things said about the Discord members are allegations, the veracity of which I can't attest to, even if these people seem to be nasty. On top of that, their actual connection to Nova is mostly limited to them being attention-seeking enablers of his who are just taking advantage of how irresponsible and socially needy he is. Even then, Nova eventually says that it was a bad idea to open another server and expresses that he wants to shut it down and tells everyone one to leave. Knowing him, if he does disassociate from these people, it's only a matter of time before he fires up another server and the cycle continues because he just can't help himself. He always comes back, and the sad, disturbing part of it is, he comes back because he needs people who will engage with him in his roleplay. Usually, I reserve disclaimers for topics that involve death, but honestly, this next thing is so bizarre that I think it merits some degree of warning, so viewer discretion is advised. We are about to get into what has been coined the Nova Files. In the middle of February 2026, Nova detractors Chin Universe, Solidus Nova, Bloodspeth, and Purity Sin all came together to post a video that was allegedly taken by a 14-year-old girl, with whom Nova was on a video call role-playing as a baby. The voice you'll hear in the video that's not Nova is actually a voiceover by Purity Sin, as the person who recorded the video didn't want their identity attached to it in any way. In it, Nova can be seen pretending to be a toddler and hugging stuffed animals.
I have a question. How much are diapers on Little for Big?
Depends on which ones you buy.
Are they comfy?
Nova says he wishes he could be wearing wet diapers every day, but that it would be too expensive as he would have to continually buy them, which he can't afford. The concept of a guy doing this with a 14-year-old girl truly feels like something you would only find on the dark web.
You do really cute, ooh-woo. Ooh-woo? Ooh-woo?
This was just the first of 5 episodes of the Nova Files. In the second one, which is also a video call between Nova and this girl, he actually takes his phone and points it at his crotch while wearing diapers to show it off. All while this girl is referring to him as baby girl. As disturbing as this stuff is, there's very little to extract from it as far as information, as most of the uploads are basically repeats of the first one. Strangely enough though, there is one exception. The end of episode 4 of the Files, during which the girl Nova is talking to fakes a seizure, and Nova just stares for minutes straight. Listen, you can have a mental breakdown, a seizure, or a heart attack all you want. When the baby is in his diaper, you sit your white ass down and you listen. But this was just the beginning of Nova's ultimate humiliation. Around February of 2026, Nova could be heard complaining about being catfished.
I'm not in a good mood because I got catfished. No, I'm not okay. I haven't been okay for a long time. I've just been hiding it.
As far as I can tell, he never elaborated with the specifics of who catfished him or anything else about it really. But due to the kind of degenerates that were in that Discord server with him, many people began to speculate that Nova had fallen into some kind of blackmail trap where he was under threat of having his nudes posted. These suspicions only grew as Nova made an ominous post to his YouTube channel. If this is my last post, I am dead. Expect that if I don't respond within 24 hours. A few people who saw this were actually worried about Nova. A lot of others weren't too concerned given the fact that he's been threatening to do something like this for years. But after a few weeks of no significant developments, something finally happened. But honestly, I really wish it hadn't. People found out that Nova had an account on an adult video website where he had posted a short video of him stimulating himself with a device. I'm gonna refrain going into more detail because I don't want to promote this account, but the name of it was a direct reference to Nova's usual online handle, and he could be heard commenting on what was happening throughout the entire thing. And apparently his room, and consequently the hoard, was also visible in the video, visible enough to be recognizable as him. I'm saying apparently because I didn't actually watch this video. I'm never going to look at this video, and neither should you. What I can tell you is that the description of the video said he was taking a break from watching South Park, and his account's bio lists his relationship status as taken. As this stuff became public knowledge, the first assumption was that Nova was either hacked or he was blackmailed into posting this video. However, instead of even suggesting anything to that effect, Nova stayed radio silent on all ends except on his Telegram, where he didn't address the video directly, but instead addressed what he says are its consequences. Mom just got sent to the ER. She has too much stress. It was the trolls. One of my detractors, Purity, has accounts on adult websites too, but of course nobody mentions that. I strongly doubt that any troll activity is responsible for Nova's mom's health, and I find it much more likely that this is him blaming something unrelated on the trolls to try and guilt trip people into not making fun of him. Obviously, this wasn't very effective, as people noticed he had been desperately deleting comments from his TikTok referencing the video in any way. Soon enough, the video had already been taken down for a violation of the terms and conditions, which probably means it was mass reported. When you take his Telegram messages into consideration, it leads me to think that this was actually done of Nova's own volition. For a long time now, he's been making offhand mentions of how he's financially desperate or how he may need to do an OnlyFans. But the thing is, he's never actually been super strapped for cash. Sure, he complains about not having money, but somehow he always has a bunch of TikTok shop trash showing up at his house, fast food, I mean even his pacifiers and his diapers. The money has to come from somewhere. On his TikTok, he made a very vague post, where in the description of a video where he lumbers into the frame before lazily making anime poses, he wrote this: "You know who you are," not naming names for their safety, but I'm thoroughly pissed at them for what they did. The upload following this one was apparently an old draft that he had recorded sometime prior, so it had nothing to do with the unfolding drama. Following that was a cringy video where he lip syncs to an audio talking about revenge.
Truth will ultimately prevail, but there is pain bringing it to light.
And in the comments, when asked about what happened, he said, "Ultimate betrayal by a former friend." After this, however, it doesn't seem like he made any further comments on the situation. As humiliating as these videos of him that came out during this time were, they were just that. Humiliating. As disgusting as his interests may be, he clearly isn't concerned enough to actually try and keep them out of the public's eye. It's clear to me that he revels in the attention he gets, or at the very least, he's addicted to it and prefers having it to nobody noticing him at all. Ultimately, as much as he feigns shame and being upset over this entire situation, him being exposed and attacked is also a part of the NovaOnline phenomenon, which is why he continues to make silly TikTok videos about revenge. But the Nova files don't actually end here. After the last episode was posted, Bloodspeth uploaded a 3-hour interview with someone who was Nova's friend. Unlike all of the other people who knew him in real life, this wasn't just a superficial acquaintance. This was the closest thing Nova had to an actual friend, as opposed to someone he met on Discord that enabled his degenerate activity. In the interview he gave to Bloodspeth, this guy begins by explaining that he didn't start talking to Nova with the intention of turning around and telling everyone about it, or just to troll him. The two had a genuine friendly relationship that lasted for about 8 months, during which this guy and the rest of his friend group put in a legitimate effort to help Nova lose weight, make some money, clean himself up, and walk away from his lolcow career. I hope I'm not spoiling it for you when I say that they failed their mission. When asked if Nova actually had the mind of a teenager or suffered from stunted development, the answer he gave was that although Nova was more self-aware than many assumed, he just didn't act on his self-awareness. Even if Nova had an easy time pinpointing the things he did that were bad, he basically couldn't do anything effective to stop himself from engaging in that behavior. But ultimately, Nova's friend couldn't tell if this was because of some cognitive limitation or manipulative malice, because he could also be feigning self-awareness just to please people so that he can go right back to doing what he wants to do, which Nova also seemed to have a tendency to do. In this interview, Nova is basically described as mostly staying quiet and actually agreeing whenever someone pointed out an issue of his, basically just waiting for them to stop talking without engaging meaningfully with what they were saying. One of the issues they butted heads over a lot was his hygiene.
Was it really that bad?
Yeah, and I'm a big honesty guy. I don't like exaggeration just because I think it takes away from, like, you know, people who are actually just trying to understand, you know, something or someone. So I'm not exaggerating when I say you can smell him from like 5 feet away. It's not exactly cat pee, but it's like like half cat pee, half ammonia, but like both of them cranked up, so it doesn't really smell like either. It's like its own thing, kind of. I had been hounding him on his hygiene for like, I mean, basically our whole relationship, but I was really hounding on it for like a couple weeks prior to that, the shower saga starting, and that was due to the fact that we started like, I think it was just we hung out with him like 2 or 3 times within like a month. I ended up calling him, and like right when I woke up, and he picked up, and we talked for like an hour, and I was like, I basically just said like, dude, everyone in the comments of this video is saying like you're gross, like you're greasy, like your house is a mess, and I'm like, can you say any of those comments are even wrong? I understand you read them and you don't like them. You need to actually internalize like, why are they saying these things, and then like look at yourself and your surroundings, and you'll probably come to the conclusion like, oh, all these people are right.
By the end of their call, Nova was crying lying while his friend offered him what I can only describe as shower incentives. This guy actually proposed buying Nova a Bluetooth speaker just so he would shower. And of course, that's when Nova's ears perked up. Only the possibility of getting more trinkets to add to the hoard can motivate Nova to actually do the bare minimum self-maintenance of a regular human being. Eventually, their conversation came around to these serious allegations about grooming and talking to minors, which have been circling Nova's name for years.
You have figured out by now whether he has a vulnerability, and a vulnerability can mean a lot of different things. Maybe he just really, really
loves his kids.
According to Gabriel's friend, he was perfectly capable of pointing out how and why what he did was wrong, but only when imagining someone else, like his detractors, doing it. Despite understanding that those actions have consequences and whoever does them should be held accountable, he maintained that he only engaged in those things to make friends, and now regretted all of that behavior and wasn't ever going to do it again. Of course, even though his friend couldn't have known it at the time, Nova was straight up lying. Lying is actually something he did a lot, but never in a Machiavellian way or to try and make himself look better. More so, he lied to get out of things, to excuse himself from his responsibilities. The example given of Nova's most consistent lying is whenever he was asked about why he hadn't showered or cleaned his environment up, he would just say that he was busy.
My theory is he's often embarrassed by his lack of activity, so it was very common for him to say like, oh, I've been really busy cleaning.
It didn't matter if he hadn't showered or cleaned up after himself for days or even weeks, he would boldly claim that he was busy, despite being unemployed and staying indoors all day, doing nothing but streaming on TikTok. When I say nothing, I truly mean nothing, because even small things that are certain to bring him money, like recording cameos, Nova neglects to do.
What is good, y'all? My name is Nova Gage, and I am a TikTok creator. On TikTok, I primarily post food reviews, gym videos, and a whole bunch of other various content.
According to this friend, Nova always had a huge backlog of Cameo requests that he just let stack up and expire, as he would rather fire up another TikTok stream to cry about being unemployed and having no money than to just record a 30-second video and actually make some. Ultimately, what this shows us is that money isn't something that even matters to Nova. What matters is attention. He would rather have no money and have people feel bad for him than have some money and have no one care. Lastly, Nova's friend claimed that Nova was likely diabetic and didn't control his sugar intake, which makes it almost certain that he was on some kind of Ozempic variant which was causing his weight loss, further cementing that despite his appearance having changed, he was internally still the exact same person. No matter how many trials and tribulations he's been through, Nova seems completely uninterested in changing, despite the fact he's proven himself capable of doing so.
I am capable of changing. All these dishes I just did.
Albeit temporarily.
The guy that tried to do a house cleaning saga but kind of failed on that and is now cleaning his room at his own pace.
If the Nova files are fully legitimate and the girl he was talking to was indeed 14, then I can only hope that Nova's degeneracy doesn't escalate toward him actually harming a minor in real life. In the best case scenario, Uncle Drew's spirit will make a prophetic visit to Nova's mom, and she will see the light and then send him somewhere he can't use electronics. I think that is undoubtedly the best case scenario for someone like him. Until then, we can only pray that no other kids make the mistake of joining one of his Discord servers. Maybe there is a very, very small chance that he's gonna change, but at this point, I've honestly lost faith in him, and frankly, I'm getting a little too old to care what this guy does with his time. It's over. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time,
clean up your room.